There's quite a lot of weapons within Breath of the Wild, from spears to the legendary soup ladle. I'm here today to talk about the real world similarities for weapons within Breath of the Wild. And yeah, I'm not going to be going over the ancient Guardian stuff. Like, do you really think big old John the Knight went around swinging a lightsaber axe? Like, seriously? No. So first, before we go specifically into the weaponry of Breath of the Wild, I'd like to look at some of the areas and communities within the game, and see what they are based on. So let's first look at the Gerudo. This area is clearly based on the real world Middle East around the Ottoman period, I'd say. That's just one example that could be based upon another time period within the Middle East. This is clear from the clothing and armour as well as the overall appearance of Gerudo Town. However, this video is about weapons, and Gerudo almost exclusively uses scimitars and spears. These scimitars and spears are typically embroidered in gold and jewels. These weapons specifically look like they're to be from the Mamluk period. I probably pronounced that wrong. This is because of the choice of colour for the jewels and the strong use of gold for the hilts and the decoration for Gerudo weapons. All of the descriptions for the Gerudo weaponry appear to focus on the light weight of the weapons. This even applies to the Gerudo Golden Claymore. This is because of the circumstances of the lands of Gerudo that reflect on the real world Middle East, especially during the 1200s and on. It was too warm to move around in heavy armour, and so the soldiers had to avoid wearing plate and would focus on wearing lighter armour. Because of this, heavy weapons that focus more on bashing and stabbing aren't needed. Therefore, there is an opportunity to use weapons that slash, such as scimitars. This directly reflects onto Breath of the Wild, in which the main weapon of the Gerudo is the Scimitar of the Seven. Also the Moonlight Scimitar, but yeah, who cares. The description of the Scimitar of the Seven states that Urbosa's movements resembled that of a dance. This is clear enough indication that for a Gerudo, light weaponry is everything. It's kind of like a water dance from like Game of Thrones, like, you know, from Bravos, another really hot place where, like, it's an S. Yeah, you get that reference. An essential item in every Zelda game is the boomerang. You might think, how are boomerangs used in warfare? This is a stick. Boomerangs were relied on by aboriginals not just for fighting but for digging and hunting. If a boomerang was used for warfare, the inner edge would be sharpened. This carries over perfectly to Breath of the Wild. Look at the giant boomerang, for example. Originally used for hunting, it was modified to use as a weapon. The blades on the inner curves make it tricky to wield. Not only this, but the standard boomerang, simply named Boomerang, got me there, Nintendo, was a forest boomerang only used by Koroks. This would have been typically used for hunting, if Koroks hunt, I don't know, or probably more so warding off adventurers and travellers who wandered into the Lost Woods, without killing them of course. On the opposite side of the spectrum are the Lysol boomerangs, with their main aim being that they are used for warfare, and so they are much sharper and almost sword-like. Some of the most interesting weapons in the game are used by the Yiga clan. They typically use weapons from a broad range of origins, whether that's from India, Japan or Africa. Probably the most recognisable origin is for the Wind Cleaver, which appears to be a katana. One of the most interesting Yiga weapons is the Demon Carver. I struggled to find a proper real-world similarity for this, but I believe the weapon to be a variation of a chakram. The chakram is an Indian weapon which is extensively used by the Sikhs, or the Sikh. I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm sorry. The main difference between the Demon Carver and the Chakram is that the Demon Carver has a handle on the outside of the inner ring, whereas the Chakram has its handle typically in the inner circle or no handle at all. But I couldn't really find any real world similarity for the Demon Carver, so I think this is the closest bet. One of the most popular Yiga weapons is probably the Vicious Sickle. Sickles are typically used in farming, but there are weapon variants. Many among you may have made the connection to the Yarok, used by the Dothraki in Game of Thrones. A YouTuber named SnapJelly has already talked about the practicalities of using this weapon within combat in his video. You should probably check it out, it's quite interesting.
And on the other hand, because of the curve that allows for so many offensive possibilities that a straight sword does not. Just imagine your opponent having a defense right here, and your sword just coming around that and still getting him in the neck, or on the head. That could be a kill. Simple as that.
The same applies to the Vicious Sickle, since they are so similar in physicality. There are some real-world weapons that are based upon this sickle, being the Egyptian Kapesh, the Dacian Falx, and the African Makaraka. I personally believe the Vicious Sickle to be more similar to that of a Makaraka, but it's all up to interpretation. Nintendo could have very well made a sickle weapon without any inspiration from existing weapons. All the other weapons in the game are pretty straightforward. I mean, you got your fancy lad, straight sword, and so on, but there is one set of weapons that I've been struggling to find a clear comparison to. This is the Lionel set of of weapons, more specifically the swords. I originally got some Gladius vibes from them, mainly from their wit, but also the nature of the Lynels. Lynels appeared to be a challenger to Link. True tests of strength, you could say. You could say that they're almost gladiatorial, and so you could say that they kept the designs of their weapons more gladiatorial because of this. However, this is just baseless speculation. I also thought of these swords as almost cleaver-like, again because of the width of them, but also the power. The Lynel's weapons focus more on being weapons used to smash rather than to slash, because of the sheer power of them. Cleavers are used by butchers to cut through animal skin, meat and bone, and so you can make the parallel through this. I'll leave this part onto you, because I'm not exactly sure what the Lynel weapons are based off. Maybe you have a better idea. So be sure to comment below what you think the Lynel weapons origin might come from. Something that has come up while making this video is the black weaponry of the Royal Guards of Hyrule. There aren't really any distinctive black metals that were really ever used in sword making. The closest I could ever find was Damascus steel, which could give off a sort of black illusion, but they weren't truly black weapons, they just had unusual patterns. Damascus weapons were especially outstanding over the time, and gave birth to many legends about them. So, considering that the Royal Hyrule Guards would have very fine weaponry, and would be some of the most elite soldiers of their time, it would make sense that they would have the most elite metal of their time, so this kind of fits pretty well. However, there is another possibility for this. The Royal Guard weapons could just be normal castle forged steel weapons, painted in black, just like the Karak's black swords. These swords were coated in black so they could not reflect light, and so would be less prone to being spotted. Coating the sword in black paint would also avoid rusting, so you'd think that the most elite knights of Hyrule, sworn to protecting the royal family, would undergo the same measures if they just had regular steel swords. Those are my two sort of possibilities for these type of weapons. That's even more speculation for you if you want. Maybe you have a better idea. Maybe there is a black steel that I don't know about that we use to make weapons, but yeah. Or maybe I'm just looking into this too much when in reality Nintendo just wanted some cool weaponry. Yeah, that's an idea. Anyway, since all the other weaponry within Breath of the Wild is quite basic, you can sort of see the origins quite clearly, medieval history, so on, Japanese, katanas, whatever. I'm going to conclude this video here. I really hope you enjoyed and didn't get bored or anything. Make sure you subscribe as I'm going to upload more stuff like this. Sorry for the lack of uploading also, because my life has kind of been taken over by Tarantino films, Cowboy Bebop, and Battlegrounds. Yay! Speaking of which, I might make a video on the similarities between PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Battle Royale. Or maybe there's the whole explosion of Battle Royale games in general. But no one can know. You just keep that quiet. It's a secret between us, okay? Good. I love you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. I love you. Bye.